Well, hello everyone. Welcome for Fabulous Fridays with I don't know. Just- Anyhow, I wanted to talk tonight about perfection, about perfect, about how we think about things that happen in our life. And sometimes we look at the things that happen and we think that, we have these plans about how things are supposed to unfold, and they unfold very differently, or maybe things happen in your life that you weren't expecting, right? I can think of many times in my life there was a lot of suffering that I caused myself from not accepting what was. And sometimes we get into these situations where something's unfolding in our lives, and it's not going the way that we want, or we're attached to it in some way. And attachment definitely is the road to suffering. Anything that you're really attached to will absolutely cause you suffering. And so sometimes we have these ideas of how things are going to be play out, or how people are going to be, or how this situation is going to occur. And what we find is that it usually almost always never turns out exactly that we anticipated. It shows up completely differently. And if we're in resistance to what it is that's being demonstrated in that moment, we're not going to be able to accept the gift that is being given to us at that time. And so I've learned over the many, many years of just living life that when things show up in my life, no matter what they are, I've learned to look for the good in them. Like, is the positive? Now, sometimes in the moment, I cannot see it. I cannot see it. Like, let's give you an example. Um, in 1994, which was quite a while ago, we had a house fire. We were renting a house, and we had a house fire that destroyed our whole entire home. And at that time in my life, I could not understand how in any way possible that this could be for my highest good, or for my best good, or perfect in any way whatsoever. And so as I was going through that whole experience, which was it was a very, very difficult time in my life. And as things were unfolding many, many times the way that I didn't want them to go, because, well, there were just a lot of things that came out of being uprooted out of your home. Um, you know, just a million things. But I look back, and I mean, it's a long time now. So we're talking 94. So it's a long time ago. But when I was able to get far enough away from that incident to actually see it, I could see it differently. Not that it was, a joyous thing that our house burned down, but the reality of it is it really brought me down. It brought me back to the bare essence of who I was. It stripped away everything that I thought I was at that time, because all of my possessions were gone in an instant. And it really brought to me so many opportunities of deep surrender, so many opportunities to heal aspects of my being that emerged through this whole process. Right? It strengthened our family unit, our children, and my husband and I. We became a stronger unit together. We were able to overcome difficulties, and it created so much more than the devastation of just losing all of our things. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that in your life, where you've lost everything. Like, it's almost like when all of your things are gone that you identified yourself with. Suddenly, you have to begin to reemerge from that place of emptiness, from that place of losing, or in your mind, like losing your identity, or losing things, or you have to just be able to really learn how to just hold in that moment. And even though you're going through a lot of pain, it doesn't really matter what it was. And I used a really dramatic example just because I wanted to bring it home to you, that when these really big catalysts happen in our lives, sometimes they show up in ways like surprises, like things that we don't want, like maybe it's our health, right? Maybe some health challenge. I've heard many, many cancer survivors say that, you know, in many ways, the cancer was definitely a wake-up call, but for them, as they began to journey beyond that, they could see how this process of going through this whole process, they learned so much about themselves. They learned how to love themselves more. They learned that people cared and loved for them. And so there were so many gifts that were given to them, even in sight of something so horrific as cancer emerging in their lives. And so it doesn't really matter what you have going on in your life right now. And we're all experiencing many, many different things. And we face challenges every day. Every day the world shows up in ways that we don't anticipate. The life is full of surprises. We don't have a magic crystal ball that tells us what the future holds. And really, that's a really wonderful thing because that allows for the moment to be filled with so much potential and possibility. So when we're living in this great unknown and we're venturing into our lives and things begin to emerge, especially times when things happen, when we think, oh, this shouldn't be happening, this shouldn't be happening. See if you can take a moment to step back from whatever it is and see if you can see where there might be some good that might be emerging in what is happening, or this devastating experience that you're going through, because there is good in everything. Everything is always perfect. It's hard to see it, you know. It's so hard to see it. I'll give you another example. Like I I looked at my life recently, and this is something that I've done many, many times in my path of deepening my own relationship with myself and healing the aspects of the wounded inner child in me. And so I looked back at my life, and there were many, many times that I looked at my life in my childhood, and there definitely was a time in my life where I was not accepting what had happened, right? And I had a lot of resentment, and I had a lot of pain and suffering, and I held on to some thoughts and some beliefs that really didn't serve me, right? And so I looked back at my life and I thought about everything. So, like, um, when I was born, I never met my father. I've never met my dad. My feeling right now is that my father has passed on, and he's made his transition from this earth plane into his next experience. And I always thought of that as like something that's terrible. Like that shouldn't have happened. Like that, and then it's like going through and looking at that aspect of being raised without a father. And yeah, there were many, many aspects of that were very painful. And I didn't have a strong father image in the household. Um, But when I look back on it, the things that taught me by not having a father in my life it taught me how to be very powerful and strong, how to speak up for myself. It taught me how to show up for myself in a different way. And then once I got older and I could really, really like look at that relationship or that last relationship in my life, I could look back at it and I could actually even have gratitude for him and thanking him for his contribution to the fact that I'm even here. For without him, I wouldn't even be in this body. And so it was just like looking back, like it was all perfect. My father wasn't in my life. And yes, it's terrible. No child should ever have to live without a parent. However, in the scheme of things, as my life goes on to almost 60 years now, not having a father, I've healed that. I've realized that it was all perfect. It was all perfect. And I've learned to accept that and release my attachment. Any story that I had about being a child without a father or a daughter without a dad, and so I was able to let those feelings go and look back at it and then really bring healing relationship. And so I believe, even though I've never physically met my father, he knows that I love him, and he knows I forgive him, and he knows that I'm so grateful for his contribution to my life. And It's all perfect. It's all perfect. He gave me an incredible gift. I couldn't receive it for the longest time because I was held up in resentment over the fact that he wasn't in my life. But as I grew older and I grew wiser and I learned about forgiveness and I learned about judgment and I learned about how it causes my own personal suffering. When I was able to reach that place of forgiveness with him, I liberated myself, right? And so when we begin to believe or know that everything is perfect and that it's all held in the divine, it's all under divine orchestration. When we really start living from that place, our life changes in ways that you cannot even imagine. The divine perfection begins to unfold in ways that you can recognize more and more. And you begin to see that really, even though things don't look like they're going your way, when you get to the other side, it's all worked out magnificently for your highest good. You know, so just pay attention to how life is showing up and pay attention to how you may or may not have resistance to it and see if you can find the good in all of it. You can find the divine perfection, divine unfolding, because that's what we're here to experience. We're here to experience the mystery of living and of life, and we can release our attachments. We can release our resentment. We can engage in forgiveness. And we can begin to see that everything in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in my life served its purpose to bring me to where I am today. And am I happy and excited about my journey and where I'm at right now in my life? Yes. And I could not be here without all of those. Be here as this person, as who I am, Pookie Lee. I could not be here had it not been for every single one of those incidences that helped to form who I am, who I am. So just remember, everything is always perfect. I know. We experience a lot of pain. But in due time, once you get to the other side, however it is that you do that, and you look back, take the time to have gratitude. Gratitude for your experience. And if you can just rest in the knowing that all is unfolding in divine perfection for your highest good, then you can breathe and smile and live your life from your heart, right, and in joy and in peace. And that's what I wish for you. That's my wish. Mm. So thank you for being with me here in this beautiful sacred sanctuary space that we create together. And I look forward to sharing another message with you next Friday. Have an awesome week and do something that you love this weekend because it really helps in healing the planet. It really does. Everything that we do in an act of love assists in the vibrational health of our planet. And so we make a huge contribution. So if you can do something that you love every day, if you can, yeah. Mm. Blessings to you on your sacred journey. Be loved, beloved. And I'll see you again here next week.